I have a lot of things that I want to do in a day. I want to work out, study a new language, read more, and work on my YouTube channel. I want to achieve a lot of things. Thus, I've planned out all these habits to help me achieve them. I barely have enough time already to work on them due to my day job. But this was what I did that made it seem like I have an abundance of time to work on my goals. And most importantly, crush my competition. Here's the key. I deliberately made myself bored. Just think about what goes through your mind when you're bored. You're like a drug addict, constantly looking around for the next dopamine hit to cure your boredomness. And the easiest form of cure that many of us would turn to are our phones. We start hunching over our phones, scrolling social media, and after an hour of that, what do you gain? I've been in that situation before, and let me tell you, I'm always exhausted after scrolling social media for so long. It's always during our break time, whether it be from studying, working out in the gym, or during our meal breaks, that we dish out our phones and flick our thumbs endlessly. You rarely feel refreshed after all of that. In fact, it drains what remaining energy you have left to do the things that you were supposed to do. You thought you needed that 5 minutes break from studying. Thus, you took out your phone and started scrolling TikTok or Instagram. The 5 minutes mark was up, but you still found yourself scrolling. Why? Because you subconsciously thought that using your phone will get you refreshed for the next round of your work. But it never does. That's why you'll continue to scroll for another 5 more minutes, 10, and the next thing you know, it's already an hour or two, and you need to take a nap. Just that simple act of scrolling created a cascading effect that basically took out your entire afternoon that you could have used for something else. And here's the thing, the things that you could have otherwise spent on doesn't always have to be something productive, like reading a book or studying. Those free time that you wouldn't have lost from all that high dopamine activity, such as scrolling social media, could have been used to walk your dog, spend some time with your family by having a real face-to-face conversation, or just chilling on your coffee table, drinking coffee. These are activities that refreshes and energizes you, as opposed to an activity that drains you mentally and physically. Just think about it. Maybe you have been using your phone, scrolling TikTok for the past hour or so. Try and remember what you have just watched. What have you learned? Do you feel refreshed after? Or was there any other activities that took out a bulk of your time as a result of that scrolling, such as taking a long nap? I honestly couldn't remember much of what I've just watched, considering that I've spent an entire hour scrolling. I learned nothing at all, and oftentimes, I just want to sleep my life away after getting exhausted. I gain nothing, literally nothing. Zero knowledge, zero productivity, and it depletes my energy like hell. If you are going to gain nothing, is there any reason to do that at all? Most of what we are doing are all transactional, whether you believe it or not. Even if that something is of charitable nature, almost seemed as if done out of selflessness. That in itself is also transactional, just in a different form. Helping an old lady cross the road seemed to gain you nothing, but that transactional value that you gain in return is that sense of satisfaction and pride that you have helped someone by reinforcing their identity of you being a good person. Everything else in the world is transactional. Even if that person says that they don't gain anything, they do, but it's probably in a form that you have no idea what it's about. Going back to what you can gain from using your phone to scroll social media, literally nothing. What you gain are basically things that are mathematically negative, meaning to say it takes something away from you, be it your time, your energy, and even your brain cells. If you have been convinced that there's literally nothing to be gained from turning to high dopamine activities such as scrolling social media to cope with your boredom, here's how you can utilize that boredom to crush your competition. The logic goes behind that we seek stimulation in a state of boredom, but if you have already eliminated the idea of scrolling social media, what else can you turn to cope with that boredom? Basically, your habits. To be more specific, your good habits. Which is why this method ties in very closely with the need to create good habits, and to take it another step further, to track these good habits. If you have a set of good habits that you want to cultivate and pursue on a daily basis, and if there's nothing else to do when you're bored, what will you end up doing? Your good habits. I've been using a habit tracker on an app called Notion to track my good habits. Whenever I'm bored out of my mind, I naturally turn to my habit tracker to clock all my habits of the day, and if I'm already done with all of them, I simply worked on them for a longer period of time. I didn't do anything difficult or extreme where I have to pluck discipline out of the nether and force myself to work on these good habits. I naturally want to do these good habits. It isn't motivation that's making me do them. It's the pure boredom and uneasiness that's building inside of me, and if I want to cope with that feeling, I naturally want to turn to my good habits such as reading, working out, learning a new language, or working on my YouTube channel. Oftentimes, the hardest part about working on good habits that helps you to achieve whatever eventual goal that you have is that you have to force yourself to do it, whether it's through discipline or motivation. But if you're eliminating all these messed up dopamine activities such as scrolling social media, you basically found a new source of drive to work on these things that at times can be much more effective than utilizing discipline or motivations, be it intrinsic or extrinsic in nature. I've been utilizing this method for quite some time now, and despite having a 9-to-5 job, I still managed to find time to work on all my good habits. In fact, I felt like I have more time than before. If you take a look at my phone's home screen, I grouped TikTok and Instagram together and named the folder Weak Loser, which is basically my attempt to not click on it, and if I do, I'm basically a weak loser. You may be wondering, why not just delete the app? I could, but what if I tell you that there's a right way to use social media that can help you achieve your goals? I have a video on how you can do that, which I'll put it up somewhere up over here. Basically, apart from using those apps in the ways that I've described in that video, I shouldn't be clicking into it and scrolling through it like a degenerate. I've also downloaded various ebooks on my phone and utilizing a flashcard app to study a new language. If I'm really bored and I'm left with nothing to do, such as waiting for the bus or train, those are the apps that I'll turn to. So it's either I turn to those apps during my free time, or I just stare into blank space, which in itself isn't that bad of a thing. You have to understand this one thing: for every good habit that you stay consistent on, you are putting yourself ahead in front of all of your competition. That small habit of just reading 10 pages a day seem insignificant, but putting it all together over the span of an entire year, that's 3,650 pages, which could range anywhere from 10 to 20 books. And let me tell you this, we are so easily bored that sometimes you wouldn't just read 10 pages. You could even finish an entire book in a single day if you are someone that lies on your bed for literally the entire day scrolling social media or watching shows. Every time that you see your friend using their phone to kill time during their breaks, while you spend that time reading an ebook on your phone or learning a new language on an app, just imagine how ahead you'll be if you keep that up for a couple of months or years. These small habits will compound over time, and there is just absolutely no way they can catch up to you. I can assure you that you will not be able to recognize yourself in just a couple of months, including your friends, and that's by simply being bored.